Good morning, everyone. It's such a blessing to be here with you today on this sacred day of remembrance. Today is All Souls Day, and also it's the second day of Dia de los Muertos. All Souls Day is celebrated by Protestants and Catholics, and it's honored through prayers, mass, and visiting grave sites to honor and pray for the dead. The Day of the Dead is celebrated in Mexico and other Latin American countries. Dia de los Muertos is a multi-day holiday, and it involves family and friends gathering to pay respects and remember friends and family members who have died. It's a joyful celebration of life and death that honors ancestors and loved ones who have passed. The tone of Dia de los Muertos is festive and colorful. Families build ofrendas, which are altars. They decorate everything with marigolds, which are bright orange and golden color, and they represent the sun, which in Aztec tradition guided spirits back to the world of the living. Marigolds have a strong fragrance and vibrant petals and are believed to help souls find their way home. So that is so beautiful. I'm going to ask you, have you watched the movie Coco? Coco is a Pixar film that was released in 2017. And for those who are not familiar with it, it's about this young boy, Miguel, who is living in Mexico and who dreams of becoming a musician despite his family's generations old ban on music. On Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, Miguel accidentally crosses into the land of the dead, where he meets his ancestors and discovers the truth about his family's past. Through music, memory, and love, Miguel learns that remembering those who came before us keeps them alive in spirit. The film beautifully celebrates the power of family, remembrance, and the eternal bond between the living and the departed. So, no matter how many times I've watched this movie, I cry like a baby every single time. The movie has also inspired me to create a home altar that to remember my own deceased loved ones. So in my meditation space, I have a picture of every person who I have loved and lost. As spiritualists, we know that people who have transitioned simply move on to a different state of consciousness. As I prepared for this talk, I felt inspired to bring together two themes which I feel are two sides of the same coin: All Souls Day and inspiration for creativity. Bear with me. My hope today is to give you an action plan of sorts of how to continue to honor our departed loved ones through life. Has anyone here seen the telepathy tapes? I should say heard. Has anyone here heard the telepathy tapes? Everyone in my family is tired of hearing me talk about this series. For those who are not familiar, the Telepathy Tapes Season 1 explores real life experiments, personal stories, and scientific research around the mystery of telepathic communication, asking whether human minds can truly connect and share information beyond words. Right when I thought this show could not possibly get any better, Season 2 comes out. Season 2 shifts towards a deeper inquiry into consciousness and creativity, asking if inspiration, intuition, and ideas themselves might be forms of telepathic or energetic connection. More specifically, in Season 2, Episode 3, this episode is called The Consciousness of Creativity. Are ideas alive and do they choose us? That's a long title. In this episode, Kai Dickens, the host, explores the mystery of inspiration through the lens of whether ideas might exist independently and seek partners in humans, rather than just being purely generated by human minds. Elizabeth Gilbert, who is a guest on the show and one of my favorite authors, presents an idea that creativity doesn't come from us, but to us. This is mind blowing. Imagine ideas as living. In her book, Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert describes ideas as living, energetic forms like spirits of inspiration. And these spirits of inspiration are floating through the universe, looking for someone to collaborate with. When an idea finds you, and this may be in a dream, words you hear, a strong hunch, a book dropping off the shelf, this idea, this spirit of inspiration whispers, "Will you work with me? Will you bring me to life?" And if we say yes, we become a channel, a medium for spirit to express something new through us. As an artist myself, I know that it's almost impossible to make any art unless I feel inspired. You could place all the right art materials before me, but if I do not feel inspired, nothing is getting done that day. Also, I should mention that when I say the word art here, I do not just mean creative arts. I mean any creative activity. It could be cooking, decorating, writing, working with people, gardening. Art is pretty much anything that when you do it, you feel joyous, aligned, you feel safe. In all cases, it is much more difficult to create when one is feeling uninspired. Have you ever tried cooking when you don't feel like it? Oftentimes, the food will not taste good at all. And isn't that in many ways what spiritualism teaches us? That spirit is ever present, ever seeking expression through us. So let's look at our principles. Our principles very much mirror this truth of creativity as communion with spirit. Principle number one states, we believe in infinite intelligence. It speaks of the all powerful, all knowing source of life. Every spark of creativity, every idea, every poem, or healing impulse begins there. Inspiration is simply spirit reaching into our world and saying, "Here, express me." In Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert shares a striking story about an idea that quite literally seemed to have a life of its own. She had conceived a novel of an Amazon rainforest, a sweeping love story involving a middle aged American woman and a Brazilian man caught up in a complex adventure. Despite her excitement, life pulled her in other directions and she never completed it. Years later, she became friends with a fellow author, Anne Patchett, who began describing the plot of her newest novel, a story astonishingly identical to the one Gilbert had abandoned years back, down to its characters and setting. Both authors took this experience as confirmation that ideas are energetic beings. When one person says no to the idea or isn't ready for the idea simply moves on to another willing partner to bring it into the world. After this mother, After his mother, Mary, passed away when he was a teenager, Paul McCartney later had a vivid dream in which she came to him and offered gentle reassurance. In the dream, she told him, "Let it be." These words became the inspiration for the Beatles' iconic song of the same name. Situations like these give us a glimpse of infinite spirit. We exist in something way bigger, much more intelligent than we can ever comprehend. The second principle reads as follows. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. When we create, whether through art, music, words, or acts of kindness, we are allowing that infinite energy to move through us. That expression moves through us. Within that framework, creativity becomes a sacred act, a form of divine communication. We are all creators in this sacred act. First, the inspiration comes in our field as an idea. We begin to think of it and let our imagination chew on it. When we give it even more life by speaking about it, then you're almost at home base. Then we bring the idea to life. And interestingly, when we look back at the earliest meanings of the word inspire, it has much more literal translation. Being inspired refers to the act of breathing in or breathing life into something. It has also held a strong theological sense of being moved by divine influence. Just look around you. Everything in our reality was once a tiny little seed of an idea in our thoughts. The car you own, the clothes you wear, even coming here today was once just a tiny idea you fed into reality. The fourth principle says we affirm that the personal identity of the individual continues after the change called death. On All Souls Day, we are reminded that life continues beyond death. But so does creativity. The ideas, the art, and the love of those who came before us are still very much alive. Their energy doesn't fade, it simply transforms. For example, the brushstrokes of our ancestors live in our hands. The songs of our loved ones echo in our hearts. The recipes of our loved ones live in our Thanksgiving meals. Perhaps when we feel inspired to create, we are continuing the work they began, carrying forward the light they lit. Principle 5 states that communication with the so called dead is a fact. As mediums, we know that communication between the worlds is real. But communication doesn't always come as words or signs. Sometimes this communication comes as a nudge, motivation, excitement, a faint whisper that says, try this. What if some of our creative ideas are actually collaborations with spirit, loved ones, or even bigger than that? What if some of our creative ideas are the collective soul of humanity itself? There's a fascinating pattern throughout human history, which you might already be familiar with, but worth mentioning here. The same creative idea often lands in multiple minds at once. In the late 1800s, for example, two inventors on opposite sides of the world, Alexander Graham Bell in the United States and Elisha Gray in Illinois, both conceived of the telephone at nearly the exact same time. On February 14th of 1876, both men actually filed patents for the telephone on the same day, within hours of each other, without any communication or collaboration between them. How is this possible? They were obviously drawing from the same field of inspiration. Principle 6 reminds us of the golden rule being do unto others as you would have them do unto you. When we use our creativity for love and service, to uplift, heal, to inspire others, we are living the highest morality. We're giving others the same light we ourselves have received. I know this for myself. There have been years in my 20s in which I needed to process a lot. My go to was always using my hands to make things. The act of creating something I felt to be beautiful with my own energy, my own hands, while simultaneously processing some of the darkest moments, helped transform all those negative feelings into healing. Making art was my lifeline. One thing is so important to mention here as well. Each one of you is an artist. If you are breathing, you are an artist. You do not need to be perfect before embarking on a creative journey. It is just the opposite. Engaging creativity is often the tool which helps us survive the storms of living in this reality. Remember, the beautiful lotus, one of the most beautiful flowers out there. The lotus doesn't grow in clear, pristine water. It grows in the thickest mud, and yet it rises clean, luminous, untouched by the murk that surrounds it. The mud is the very thing that nourishes the bloom. That's what creativity does for us. It lets spirit lift us from our own muddy waters. Every brushstroke, every poem, every song, every written page becomes a petal, opening, unfolding, revealing the beauty that was hidden in the darkness. Principle 7 states that the moral responsibility of individuals and places the responsibility of one's happiness or unhappiness back onto each of us. Each of us is responsible for saying yes when inspiration calls. Spirit can offer the idea, but we must act to bring it into form. As Elizabeth Gilbert says, ideas will move on to someone else if you ignore them. So, creativity and inspiration gently invites us into partnership. We do our part, and spirit does the rest. Notice how kind and gentle and loving and accepting spirit is. You have ultimate power over your own destiny. You can come into this incarnation just coast. That's okay too. But the supports of inspiration have and will always be there waiting. There's an old story about a man who spent his whole life praying to God, to Source, to win the lottery. Every night he'd kneel by his bed and say, "Please, God, I've been faithful. Just let me win the lottery. That's all I ask." Weeks passed, then months, then years. He kept praying and praying, but nothing ever happened. Finally, one day, he passed to the spirit world and came face to face with God. Frustrated, he said, "Lord, I've prayed every single day. Why didn't you ever let me win the lottery?" God smiled gently and said, "My child, I was ready to help you, but you never bought a ticket." Principle 8 states that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul here or hereafter. It's never too late to begin again, to sing, paint, write, dream. Creativity, like spirit, is infinitely forgiving. Every new idea is a second chance, just like the seasons. After a brutal winter, spring always comes. Alma Thomas is a beautiful example of how creativity can blossom at any stage of life. She spent 35 years as an art teacher in Washington, D.C., inspiring generations of students to express themselves through color and form. Yet it wasn't until she retired at age 68 that she fully devoted herself to her own art. In her later years, she created radiant abstract paintings filled with color, joy, and spiritual light. Works that are now displayed in major museums, including the White House. Alma often said that painting was her way of expressing, quote, "the beauty of the world." providing that the creative spirit never ages and that the door to new beginnings is never closed. I checked, and the work of Alma Thomas is indeed part of the White House collection. Her painting, Resurrection, made in 1966, was acquired for the White House collection in 2014. Finally, in the last principle, Principle 9, it states that the precepts of prophecy and healing are divine attributes proven through mediumship. Creativity itself is a form of mediumship, a healing bridge between worlds. When we allow ourselves to be moved by the inspiration, others feel that movement too. This healing happens through beauty, through truth, through creation. Gifting someone something you made from the heart and with love, whether it's cooking, art, a poem, carries the loving energy of the maker. Knowing this, I invite you to lovingly make something for someone today. Your loving intention will bring about all forms of positive results. So today, on All Souls Day, I invite you to think of creativity as a sacred conversation with spirit. When inspiration visits you, it may be a loved one nudging you to sing their song again. It may be a soul on the other side saying, keep creating, keep shining, keep the energy of love flowing. So now let's take a moment to close our eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel your connection to the infinite spirit, that source of all creation. Put your hand over your heart and imagine all your past loved ones lovingly gathered around you, knowing that your loved ones exist in a place of pure love and having more access to infinite intelligence. And precisely now that the connection is strongest, what is their message to you? Maybe the message might be encouraging you to live more fully, maybe to love more deeply, to create fearlessly. What divine message are they sending you? Feel yourself open to their loving message. Silently ask, how would the Spirit express itself through me? What idea, what action, what expression of loving kindness is waiting to be born through me? As we honor All Souls Day, past, present, and future, may we remember that we are each a living vessel of divine creativity. You may open your eyes. Take a deep breath. When we say yes to inspiration, may we say yes to spirit. Go and buy that proverbial lottery ticket. Thank you and blessings to you all.